Every show horse has a team, a pep squad that invests in its every move. At the root of that pep squad is a veterinarian that has had a hands-on influence. In fact, the breeding industry is a vital key to the sustainability of the horse show world.
I'm Dr. Jeannie Strockbine. I've been a veterinarian now for going on 20 years, graduate of University of Missouri-Columbia. My undergraduate was done here in Arkansas at Russellville at Arkansas Tech University. As far as the breeding industry goes, we kind of wax and wane. Right now we're a little bit on the waning side of that, not seeing as much of the controlled breeding, the selective breeding, not seeing as much of the artificial insemination, embryo transfer, kind of on our middle class level, okay? I know that they're still doing quite a bit of that in the upper levels. We do see quite a few hobby breeders. That's probably where the trend appears to be going at this time, at least in this area. I have several hobby breeders that pick out a mare or two each year and choose a stallion from Washington or from California, Maryland. We ship in, we breed, we use fresh shipped semen, and we also use frozen semen. Procedurally on that stuff, whichever technique you're using, is really fairly similar. First you got to start with a mare, and you need to have a mare that's reproductively sound. Most mares that we're going to ship on, we have people bring them in because we want to check them out. I'm going to tell you right off, I consider myself a bit of a general practitioner. I'm a bit of a pragmatist where it comes to selecting mares that are good candidates for AI. Your ideal mare is going to be a mare between 5 and 12 years of age, preferably with a foal already by her side, that hasn't had any history of reproductive issues. The ultrasound is absolutely indispensable. This is a 20-year-old ultrasound. I'll be devastated when it dies because it has been wonderful for me. The ultrasound, you really cannot do equine reproduction without one. There are old-timers out there that have palpated a lot and have a wonderful feel for what the ovaries are doing, but nowadays that just isn't enough. When we're dealing with frozen semen, we're dealing with embryo transfer, we need this edge. Ultrasounds, we can pick up a 5-day embryo, 5-6-day embryo, which is when it comes down into the uterus. So you can, if you have that type of ultrasound, you pick it up, the earlier you can diagnose a pregnancy, the quicker you can head off any problems that you may know that this mare has had in the past. So I'm not in any particular order here, but let's start. We're going to hopscotch back and forth. Of course, one thing we need when we breed is we do need semen from the stallion. This is an artificial vagina. Has a soft rubber insert. Basically, it's a big, huge latex condom. Has this spout here. We fill this up with warm water. Most stallions seem to like their temperature around about 104, 105 degrees. Sometimes a little bit warmer. Most stallions seem to like it about this consistency as far as fill. They don't like it when it's really flat. They don't like it when it's really overfull. They do really hate it when it's cold. So you're just a little bit better off going a little bit warmer than you are a little bit colder, but not scalding. Easy enough to do if you have a stallion, if you have a jump mare or a stallion that is trained to a dummy. This is just an adapter. Fits on the end of the latex tubing. This is a filter inside. When we're shipping semen, when we're doing any type of manipulation with semen, we take away the gel fraction. Okay, in natural breeding, that gel fraction does serve a purpose. It's a buffer for the sperm. That's why semen lives longer in the mare if it comes naturally from the stallion. Once we start manipulating it, that really begins to decrease the lifespan of the sperm. General rule of thumb, your longest lived is going to be directly from the stallion in the mare. Then you're going to have your next is going to be artificially collected and inseminated into the mare manually. Then you're going to have your chilled semen. Then you're going to have your frozen semen. Frozen semen has the greatest kill rate on the sperm, but frozen semen gives you your most flexibility as far as when you are breeding the mare away from the farm, because it keeps indefinitely. You don't have to work to somebody's collection schedule. Once you are shipped the semen, it's there. The only schedule you have to work on then is the mares. So anytime you can take, factors out of the equation, it simplifies things. The leather piece is just to stiffen up the AV, the artificial vagina, and to give you a handle to hold it by. If we were collecting a stallion, I would already have the mare prepped and ready. We had a really great collection mare for years. She was actually a mare that we had taken the ovaries out of. She was spayed, still had her uterus, and was just wonderful. Just an awesome collection mare. She was humanely put down when she was about 33 years old. But we would collect the semen, and it comes out, this is just a Gerber baby bottle. Okay, once we collect it, time is, time matters, but it's not crucial. We have, a little time to do this. The gel fraction would be left in the filter, and this is just probably 4 times the width of a coffee filter and probably the same material if you really got down to it. And we would be left with what is pretty much straight gel-free semen. Most stallions will give us anywhere between 50 and 100 cc's, which would be quite a bit. Once we've taken all the gel fraction out, that's still quite a bit. Okay, so we have the semen. We need to find out how much sperm we have in it. I'm just going to give a real quick and dirty on this. We take a specific amount of semen. We take a specific amount of actually a formalin solution, and we mix that in a little vial. We know what that concentration, we know what we have. We know we have, 1 part per, 100 parts semen. We take a specific amount of that using, and we do hand counts. There are machines that will do this for you, which are wonderful and great machines, but you really have to have a client base to pay for that machine. But once you put the drop of semen, you put this cover slip on there, put the cover slip on there, a little drop of semen here, little drop of semen here, then you take it over here underneath the microscope and you focus down, and there are 100 little squares, or there are 25 little squares, and you count the semen in those squares. And I just use this little hand counter as I go through and count them up. So once you've got it, there's nothing exciting about getting it extended. You put it in the extender. You have your shipping container. I did not bring one out here. You have a shipping container, which is a styrofoam container specially made. I use the ones that hold the syringes because they're less messy, they're easier to deal with. Some people still like to use the little baggies that you vacuum pack. This already comes dosed up to 60 cc's, and you don't want to have to dose a mare more than 60. 45 to 50 per insemination is preferable, and this is the extended semen. If I'm going to be breeding a mare, and this is whether we're really breeding her at home, whether we're AIing her, you still need to have your mares reproductively examined. It's a good idea because you can waste an entire breeding season or 2 on a mare that has a problem that you can fix. Some mares don't have problems you can fix. So we're going to sleeve up. We're going in rectally. We're not going in vaginally. Just kind of smear as I go in. She's going to get the benefit of the lube that's there. So what I'm doing now is I'm voiding her bowels because fecal balls get in the way of our ultrasound. I'm palpating her uterus to see the position. Depending on the number of foals a mare has had, you know, the uterus can be really pulled down. The ovaries can be stretched out and pulled down. If there's any problems, I can feel fluid in the uterus. Just kind of gives me an idea of you know, what I might find in there. Also gives me a good idea of how she's going to react to having her ovaries palpated and having her uterus manipulated. And some mares do not like that at all. There are some mares that I spend a lot of time just working with to get them comfortable with this process, especially mares that I know I'm going to be seeing several times over the years. This is ultrasound gel. It is also a lubricant, but that is what's going to allow the easier passage of the ultrasound waves to give me a better view. And there is not much activity. All those smallish, she doesn't like me pushing on it either. These small black dots that you see in there, about the size of your thumbnail, those are little follicles. Let me find one there. Okay. There's a still picture, and you can see there's one good one kind of there about 3 o'clock. That one, and then there's one just to the inside of it, and then there's one below it. Yep, those are follicles. Okay, on our pretend breeding here, once we have our semen that they have shipped, we have our pipette. I do most of this by myself, so I have a very interesting technique. If it's very cold outside and I'm using frozen semen and I have the little 6 cc or 4 cc syringe, that usually ends up down here where it's nice and warm. When I'm using chilled semen, that's not as crucial, so it usually ends up right here. At this point, we need to go in, we go into the vagina, we go in vaginally with the pipette without dropping the syringe. At this point, we go in with the pipette into the vagina. It's once again, it's a clean technique. It'll spread, we'll go in. There's a little plastic sheath on this that you just barely fold over the top once you take this out of its sterile packaging. We go in, we insert it through the cervix. Now her ovaries are about right here. If you look at the length, this is plenty long pipette. It's always better to have one long enough to have one too short. So I'm going to do this from the outside. So we've gone through the cervix, okay? We've gone to the cervix. I've pushed this through the cervix. I'm going to come back out of the vagina. I'm going to put a little bit of lube on, and I can do that with my knee and my arm because I have the pump. I'm going to go back in through the rectum. I'm going to come up to the body of the uterus before the horns of the uterus bifurcate. I'm going to find this through the rectum and through the wall of the uterus. Whichever side she is going to ovulate on, whichever side has the ovulatory follicle, that's where I'm going to put the semen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to gently guide this one direction or the other. I'm going to slide it up, and as I slide it up, I'm going to grab the body of the uterus. Basically, there's one horn going this way, one horn going that way. I'm kind of grabbing right here. I'm going to put, instead of pushing this up to the ovary or to the tip of the uterus, that doesn't work very well. That does not work very well. We're going to gently kind of pull the uterus this way to straighten out that uterine horn, and just easily take that up as far as we can, and then we can feel it's right up there at the tip of the uterus, at the infundibulum. Okay. Then I'm going to draw back out because that's where it needs to be. I'm going to draw back out. Take my syringe. I'm going to seat it. And the tip is, when I dropped it, the tip broke off. I'm going to seat it into this little soft rubber seal, and I'm going to inject slowly at about this rate. If you go too fast, there's too much turbulence and you'll kill a lot of sperm. If I feel any resistance, all I have to do is just kind of turn this pipette. I may withdraw it like 1/4 of an inch, inject the rest of it. When I pull the pipette out, I may have just a smidge of semen left in there, if any at all, and everything's gone in. But that's how you do the frozen or the shipped chilled semen.
Breeding is a meticulous business with large amounts of science and a little bit of luck. But on that spring morning, when you look outside and see a baby foal, you know that every step was worth it.